Hi everyone and welcome. I'm truly glad you are here today. Whether you are a doctoral student navigating the intense journey of advanced research, a working professional trying to grow into leadership roles, or simply someone who is passionate about understanding how real leadership works in the real world, this video is designed specifically for you. Today, we are not just talking about leadership theories from textbooks. Instead, we are exploring leadership as something lived, something experienced, something practiced daily in complex organizations, diverse cultures, and high pressure environments where decisions affect real people and real outcomes. This video walks through a full leadership development visual presentation, but instead of just listing slide bullet points, I'm going to tell you the story behind those ideas, why they matter, how they apply to real leadership, and how they connect to the future of leadership across industries, governments, and global organizations. So take a deep breath, settle in, maybe grab something to write notes with, and let's start this leadership journey together. Leadership today is dramatically different from leadership even 20 years ago, and the pace of change is only accelerating as technology, globalization, and social expectations continue to reshape how organizations function and how people expect to be led. In the past, leadership was often associated with authority, hierarchy, and command structures where leaders made decisions and employees followed instructions without much input or collaboration. Today, leadership is far more relational, far more collaborative, and far more dependent on trust, communication, and emotional intelligence than ever before. Modern organizations operate in environments filled with uncertainty, rapid technology innovation, and diverse workforces where people come from different cultural backgrounds, educational experiences, and worldviews, which means leaders must be able to understand complexity while still providing clarity and direction. Leadership development is no longer optional, and it is no longer something that happens once through training. Instead, it's a lifelong process of learning, adapting, and evolving as both organizations and society continue to change. One of the most important realities about leadership is that leadership is not learned only in classrooms. Leadership is learned through experience, especially in environments where leaders must make difficult decisions under pressure while balancing competing priorities. Working in environments such as security organizations, transitional systems, or high risk public service environments often forces leaders to develop situational awareness, emotional control, ethical reasoning, and rapid decision making skills that cannot be fully simulated in theoretical training environments. These types of professional environments teach leaders how to balance structure and humanity, how to enforce policies while still respecting individual dignity, and how to maintain safety while still maintaining compassion and fairness. This is where leadership starts to move beyond technical knowledge and begins to enter the realm of emotional intelligence, cultural awareness, and moral responsibility, which are core elements of leadership as an art form rather than purely a science. When we say leadership is an art, we are not saying leadership lacks structure or evidence based practices. Instead, we are recognizing that leadership requires interpretation, emotional awareness, and ethical decision making in environments where there's rarely one perfect answer. Management systems can be designed, measured and optimized through data and performance metrics. But leadership requires understanding motivation, understanding fear, understanding identity, and understanding the psychological factors that drive human behavior inside organizations. Great leaders recognize that people do not follow procedures. People follow purpose, and purpose must be communicated in ways that connect emotionally, culturally, and ethically with diverse teams and stakeholders. Leadership as an art means leaders must constantly interpret human dynamics, organizational culture, and environmental pressures while making decisions that balance performance goals with human impact. When we study highly successful organizational leaders, we often notice that their success is not based solely on technical skill or intelligence, rather on their ability to create vision, inspire teams, and reshape organizational culture in ways that support long-term success. Successful leaders tend to focus less on maintaining the status quo and more on preparing organizations for the future by building innovation cultures, encouraging learning environments, and supporting open communication across departments and leadership levels. They also tend to build systems that continue functioning effectively even after they leave leadership roles, which is one of the strongest indicators of transformational leadership rather than transactional management. These leaders focus on sustainability, adaptability, and organizational resilience, which are critical leadership traits in modern global environments. Transformational leadership changes organizations structurally, culturally, and operationally. And the most powerful leadership transformations often begin with changes in communication patterns and internal collaboration systems. When leaders focus on building trust and psychological safety, employees are more likely to share ideas, report problems early, collaborate across teams, and contribute to innovation initiatives that strengthen organizational competitiveness. Strong leadership improves employee engagement, and engaged employees are statistically more productive, more innovative, and more committed to organizational goals and values. Leadership transformation is not about forcing change, it's about creating environments where change becomes natural and supported. Human-centered leadership places people at the center of organizational strategy, which means leaders actively consider employee well-being, motivation, psychological safety, and ethical impact when making decisions. Leaders who demonstrate empathy and ethical consistency build stronger trust relationships with employees. And trust is one of the strongest predictors of long term organizational stability and performance. Human centered leadership does not weaken performance standards. Instead, it strengthens performance by increasing commitment, reducing turnover, and improving team collaboration. When employees believe leaders care about them as people, they invest more deeply in organizational success. Cultural intelligence is becoming one of the most important leadership skills in global organizations because leaders now routinely manage teams that include individuals from multiple countries, cultural backgrounds, and communication styles. Leaders must understand that different cultures interpret authority differently, interpret communication differently, and interpret decision making differently. which means leadership approaches must be flexible and adaptive rather than rigid and standardized. Cultural intelligence improves negotiation outcomes, improves team cohesion, and reduces workplace conflict because leaders learn how to communicate in ways that respect cultural values while still maintaining organizational direction. Diversity is not just about fairness. Diversity improves organizational problem solving and innovation capacity. Modern leadership requires active responsibility for inclusion and diversity advancement because leadership gaps still exist in many industries and sectors globally. Inclusive leadership requires intentional action, including mentorship programs, fair promotion systems, bias reduction strategies, and inclusive policy design that support equal opportunity advancement. Organizations prioritize inclusion tend to perform better financially, innovate faster, and gain stronger employee retention rates. Inclusive leadership is both a moral responsibility and a strategic organizational advantage. Self awareness is one of the strongest predictors of leadership effectiveness because leaders who understand their strengths and weaknesses are better able to build balanced leadership teams and make better strategic decisions. Strong leaders regularly seek feedback, reflect on decision outcomes, and actively work to improve areas where they lack experience or skill. Leadership growth requires humility because leaders who believe they already know everything stop growing and often stop listening to their teams. Leadership is a continuous learning journey, not a destination. Future leaders must combine technical knowledge with human leadership competencies, including systems thinking, strategic foresight, innovation leadership, and global collaboration skills. Technology will continue automating processes, but human leadership will remain essential for decision making, ethics, culture building, and organizational vision. Future leaders must understand both technology systems and human systems simultaneously. Scholar practitioner leadership integrates academic research with real world experience, creating leaders who base decisions on evidence while still applying practical judgment from experience. Doctoral level leadership requires critical thinking, evidence evaluation, and the ability to apply theory to real world organizational challenges. Scholar practitioner leaders often drive innovation because they understand both theoretical frameworks and operational realities. Core leadership competencies include emotional intelligence, ethical reasoning, communication influence, collaboration skills, and cultural awareness. These competencies cannot be replaced by automation or artificial intelligence because they require human interpretation and human emotional understanding. These competencies define modern leadership effectiveness. Modern leadership increasingly requires collaboration across sectors, industries, and countries because modern problems are complex and interconnected. Public sector organizations, private companies, and global institutions must work together to solve complex global challenges. Collaboration leadership will define future global leadership success. The best leaders balance data driven decision making with emotional intelligence and ethical reasoning. Leadership requires both analytic thinking and human centered decision making. The strongest leaders integrate both perspectives. Leadership success is measured by long-term organizational health, innovation sustainability, employee engagement, and cultural strength. Short-term performance metrics alone do not define strong leadership. Leadership will require adaptability, ethical strength, global awareness, and human connection skills. The leaders who succeed will be those who can lead technology driven organizations while maintaining strong human centered leadership values. If you take one message from this video, let it be this. Leadership is not about control, power, or titles. Leadership is about responsibility, vision, and the ability to bring people together to achieve meaningful goals. If this video helped you think differently about leadership, I encourage you to continue learning, continue growing, and continue developing your leadership mindset. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate your time, your attention, and your commitment to growth. I will see you in the next video.